and no chickens in the background. So, I don't hear them yet. That's fine.
Good. They are quite loud. I'm very glad that you don't hear them. So,
Yeah, COVID like kicked off a new cultural like Zoom culture. It's like a whole Zoom
uh-huh.
culture. And I think a lot of that still carries over to I guess maybe it's still going. I've always been not always. For a long time I tried to make the background pristine and they have all these things, these little checklists that you go through. It's like, oh, is it clean and clear? Is it distracting? Is it I don't know, aesthetically pleasing, and that can be really complicated. And I never could, you know how my house is shaped? It's like a
Uh-huh.
thin spiral all the way
Uh-huh.
through, so there's not really any big open spaces except for the living room. And it's awkward to like find a way to put my back to a wall. But then I just, you know, like with everything else, we need to just show up as we are. Because I have guests sometimes that come on and they have an AI background,
Uh-huh.
and I don't always notice. Like sometimes I'm like, it looks like a regular background, and then I'll be going through later and I'm like, that's not real. And
Mhm.
when you're uploading the episodes, you have to kind of go through all these check boxes and tell them, is it explicit content? Is it for children? Is it for 18 and above older? Is there any AI that may be distorting the image from what it may actually be or something like
Uh,
that? And I'm like,
uh,
uh, yes, I guess. And I don't know how that interacts with the system and the algorithms for, and it seems like such a simple thing. But we were I was going, okay, so that college class I started taking, it it had a clause on AI. So that's what we've been having to do so far is like it's really in depth. Like really in depth. And I
uh-huh.
don't even know how to explain it, but this past week I had to read through all of the policies and
Mm-hmm.
take us there's a certain policy that they isolated that I needed to explain in full detail and identify how my views and beliefs and how things work may have changed after reading in depth about the policy. And it had AI, like a whole policy on AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you'd be amazed at the things that we would just innately do, like changing a background, no big
Mm-hmm.
deal to hide the chaos of my kids or whatever, whatever. And but I think a lot of people do it out of insecurities and being embarrassed by their background and whatever. They think it should be different than what it is. But you'd be surprised at the amount of things that you could accidentally do, not even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it, causes issues in like this algorithm stuff or, in college and you could like get your degree revoked because you did this thing that you didn't even think about. So I'm kind of thankful that they make you take this course to really
Yeah, I've
analyze.
always wondered how did AI affect college classes because I cannot wrap my brain around how, like, for example, you will write a research paper now and it will be authentic without AI. And how would you do that when you're in college? And how would you prove that you have not done it? And yeah, it's just, and or how high school teachers, how do they teach now with when this shortcut is so easily available to students, and especially when at that age they don't necessarily have the, I guess, the moral compass and the motivation to 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 do the things that are right, instead of like, just let me do this homework really fast and get a good grade. And yeah.
Yeah, they don't understand. And I love how you put that because I've recently been telling people at the pickleball courts that I finally realized I was aging when all of the teenagers started coming out there and taking up all the courts and getting on my nerves. And like I don't mind that they're out there playing pickleball.
Uh-huh.
And they're all the other adults are like, well, they could be doing drugs. I'm so thankful that they're out here instead. Me too, but they're leaving their trash all over the place and the etiquette. They haven't learned the etiquette yet. Like we were playing a league match Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Sunday. It doesn't matter. We were playing a league match this week and it was Sunday. And the court next to us was teenagers and they kept the ball kept flying into our court, which is fine, a little annoying, but fine. The etiquette is that you yell ball and somebody on our court will grab it for you and toss it over, okay? But instead of doing that, they kept running full force into our court themselves. They're
Mm-hmm.
catapulting, they're torpedoing their bodies through our and almost collided with us a couple of times. So, and
But
we
then
could,
how do you teach them when it's so not, I guess, culturally appropriate to approach them and tell them like, hey, dudes or girls, we don't do that. We do it like we try to be polite. There is a certain etiquette because I mean, I don't know. It's like I think that it's like uh, if an adult does that, it will be like a big no-no, right? Or am I
sure.
wrong?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
like, yes, yeah, it really depends. And it's so finicky with what's allowed and what's not allowed. Like, me or you could probably approach them and people would be okay with it. But like, or like, I don't know. I don't know. You do have to come at it with a sense of finesse, I suppose.
yeah.
Especially since, well, there's the whole like predator culture, I guess we
Oh yeah,
have.
that too. Uh-huh.
And which I would love to hear how it is in Bulgaria, like
Mm-hmm.
how y'all are taught. Because we were taught everyone's dangerous, everyone's out to get you. Don't trust anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
then and like that's just been exasperated as time has went on. So teenagers are terrified of everything. Um, but also, are they going to be receptive or are they going to be little assholes about it and pop off?
Yeah.
And that's just going to make it worse.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There are many different nuances of this because I mean, yes, everything is dangerous, but on a different level. Like I've always said that like here in the United States, if someone tells me that they're going to kill me, I'm going to take it seriously. If someone in Bulgaria tells me that they're going to kill me, I would not take it that seriously. But then in general, well, I also have lived here for 20 years. So what happens is like when um you move somewhere far away, it doesn't matter where, like the place you have left stays frozen in time in your mind.
But
But
it doesn't
that
in real
place,
life.
but that place keeps developing and cultural values shift and whatever was perceived then now is different. But in general, yes, like and it's like it's Bulgaria is a much more how you say it fatalistic culture, like where it's like we're all doomed, much more pessimistic. And here in the United States, it's much more people are raised to believe that things are in their hands to change their circumstances. But then I don't know why here in the United States, in general, of course, there are always exception, there is less perseverance or less endurance when you're faced with hardship.
Hmm.
And over there, because of lifestyle, because of struggles and stuff, people are able to persevere more. They might be more unhappy, but then they might also enjoy the little moments uh, differently than people here. And they might have these moments of like the sweetness of life, the dolce vita moments, where here there is not much appreciation for them. Am I making sense?
Yes. Yes, I agree completely. I think that for one, we take it for granted, our ability
Mm-hmm.
to do and uh find our way and whatnot, where we don't realize that most of the world doesn't live like that. You just whatever family you're born into, if your dad was a baker, then you grow up and be a baker. It's not a big deal. And
Yeah.
you kind of the paths are right there. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
that could be really nice for some people. Like I kind of wish that, well, I don't know. I don't, people want freedom, but then they also want to be told what to do, but also don't tell me what to do. But can you like tell me what to do?
Uh-huh.
So there's that. But
Yeah.
we, I think we live in a little bubble of comfort. And
Oh, yeah.
that
Indeed.
is, not necessarily a great thing because we don't know what struggle and strife is, and we think we do. And sure, some do. There are
Mm-hmm.
pockets of like whole areas that do,
Mm-hmm.
in, like Detroit, I think would be a good example of that, maybe without me like speaking out of knowledge because I've never been to Detroit. But
Mm-hmm.
and then there's really, really rural areas that there's little pockets. The US is just so
Mm-hmm.
big, and so there's so many different types of cultures even within the country, like the country itself. You go to California or Washington, you're going to get very different people than you get in Texas. You're going to get very different
Yes.
people there than you do in New York. It's just, or Florida
Yeah.
or wherever. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't mean to I guess sum up a whole uh pretty much half of a continent, like in my observations of what I have
No,
seen
I
and
think
said.
you're accurate though. Because even though
Definitely.
we do have differences, like there's
Hmm.
still a whole overlying blanket of
Yeah.
American culture and what it means to be an American. And I've had to,
Yeah.
I for sure had to figure that out throughout my life because I never felt attached to the American culture. I was like, what is the American culture? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
and from what I could, because like I grew up before the internet. So
Hmm.
the culture before the internet is just whatever little town that you're in, which makes it even
Yeah.
more diverse and
Uh-huh.
vast. But you get little, patriotism and liberty for all. But then I was looking around and I was like, I'm not actually seeing this liberty for all thing. Uh,
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
you keep hammering the word freedom into my life, and that's something I definitely had zero of. Well, I say zero. I grew up in the woods a lot. I spent a lot of time in the woods. Me and my
Hmm.
cousins, we would just we would leave, we go to school, of course, but then as soon on the weekends, we'd stay at my grandmother's, who I'm very blessed to be deeply rooted in this area. And I didn't
Hmm.
register that for a very long time. Like I only registered that like a few years ago, couple years ago. I don't know. Um, I my every direction you look in my family, their family, their great grandparents, their great 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 grandparents, all the way like for the past at least 150 years have been right here in this area. And
Oh.
yeah, I'm related to every third person, but the benefit of that is that um, they had time to kind of establish themselves.
Hmm.
And so the farm that I primarily grew up on was like 200 acres of um at my grandmother's house, but she didn't own any of it. Her brothers owned it. So it was two
Uh-huh.
sides of the road, and there's a
Uh-huh.
little like gravel road that went straight through it. And there was like 100 acres on one side that one of her brothers owned, and 100 acres on the other side that her other brother owned. And so me and my cousin would just stay in the woods all the time, like from
Uh-huh.
dusk till dawn, fishing and hunting and riding four-wheelers and just hanging out with the trees, So that was the only place I found freedom because when I came back to society, I saw none. I saw no freedom for me or anybody else.
Well, I guess I found the freedom like um freedom is very vague for me though, but it's like the freedom for me came from being very far away from home because I guess like distance gave me perspective. And you said that you feel like very rooted in this area. And I think that's like my life's dilemma is that I feel rootless.
Mm.
And I remember that when I was a teenager, I always like dreamt of these new lands and new places that I will visit. And I guess that's why also I have such a passion for other languages and cultures. But it's like that's like ever since I remember myself, I pretended that I'm speaking other languages. I imagine that I'm visiting other lands, and it's like I've always knew that um I don't belong there. But then I don't feel like that I belong here. And I don't feel like, even though I have lived in the United States for 20 years, I don't feel like I've set root here. And now when I dream about something, it's again dreaming about new places and new lands and encountering new cultures. And now I don't know if it's because of my age or if it's because now I'm a mother of two. I feel like more of a pull towards the place where I came from. But I I hated that place where I came from. And I hated it because I always felt like I don't fit in. I always felt like I have to be another brick in the wall. But I felt always so odd in a bad way. And I Bulgaria in general has such a long history of um, it's a very old country. It was founded as a country in 682. So
Wow.
because of that, it has really long history. It has been Roman province many centuries ago. It has been part of ancient Thrace. It has been under the Ottoman domination. They have tried to convert us to Islam. Then we were under the umbrella of the Soviet Union, but we were never part of the Soviet Union. And then so it's like what happens is that all these everyone leaves some sort of trace and value. But then also, I guess, for the purpose of survival, you don't want to stick out. But I always felt that I stick out. And also, like, I came from a family with a single parent at a time when parents were not getting divorced. And that made me even more like I stick out. And then I also, there was no room for failure to learn, like failure when you're learning something. In my family, there was always like the expectation for perfectionism, like on the very first try when you do something.
Hmm.
And if you don't do it perfectly, you're a loser,
Shame.
losers. Yes, shame on you and all the stuff. So that made me um, not want to try anything, and it
Sure.
made me just like be like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so many of the things, like I guess going back to finding freedom, I found the freedom being away from that environment to try, to express. And then the other thing is that here in the United States, one of the freedoms that I found is that people, even if they don't judge, if they judge you, even if they judge you, they don't judge you in your face. Okay. You
Sure.
know, like they can talk about you, but you are so oblivious and they will tell you that everything that you're doing is great and you don't get a real feedback of where you stand in their eyes.
Yeah.
Wow, in especially in the Balkan culture, in Bulgarian culture, people don't spare you the harshness of their opinion, and they think that their opinion is the only truth and there is no other truth, and that's it. And emotionally sensitive people like me, they really absorb all that harshness, and
Hmm.
it just defines my reality. Like that's it. So it's like even though sometimes I complain that here it's very hard to find authentic relationships, or it's very hard to hear the real opinion of people, there is a lot of beauty in that also because you can be whatever you want, and you can be oblivious about it and just think that it's everything is perfect.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
the rule of thumb that I think we've created recently is if they haven't explicitly brought it to your attention, It's just in your head and it doesn't matter. It's pretend. It's fat. You're fabricating things based on your own securities. So
Yeah.
if someone like comes and they go, "Hey, I have a problem with you because XYZ," then you
Mm-hmm.
address it and you talk about it and then it's a problem. But we do spend a whole lot of time, oh, do they hate me? Was I awkward? Was I weird? Oh
Yeah.
no, they're probably they think this, they think that. They were noticing that I didn't shave my legs. Oh no.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
But
But
they're
then I
not.
don't know, it's like in my experience, like it has been so rarely that I have received the feedback or the constructive feedback that really means something that is like I don't know or maybe I don't know, then it's like there are also these like societal formulas that oh bless your heart is not bless your heart or uh you have to sandwich the criticism between two good things and stuff like that. So maybe I have received a lot of criticism, but it's like I have been blind to it because I don't uh I guess read all the social, I don't know, I have not figured out the exact formula yet of what exactly mean the negative criticism is if I'm making any sense.
Yeah, yeah, we've learned how to soften it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it doesn't always, it may not always, like, oh, you're so good at this. Now, if you did this, it'd be this. But it's really good that you're doing that.
Yes, and that drives me crazy because like at first it was giving me a lot of wings. Really, it was giving me a lot of wings. But over time, when I was able to get deeper into or understand the culture on a deeper level, it started making me doubt every interaction or like the conversations that have happened. It's like, did they mean this or did they mean that? Or it's like, I mean, it's very exhausting when you try to read between the lines
Yes.
all the time and try to figure out what exactly people mean. And it's like that was something that I really um, detested in my country of origin. I really detested the earnestness or the that very hurtful honesty. But sometimes now I crave it because it's not so freaking exhausting to try to figure out when people are truthful or they're not.
Uh-huh. And I think a lot of it is the person delivering having
Uh-huh.
insecurities. And
Yeah.
and I don't know, again, I've never been anywhere, so I
Uh-huh.
can only gauge from the cultural knowledge I have gained from talking to people who are from other places like you
Uh-huh.
and the limited availability of what I have online that I've come across. But we have some major anger issues over here.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how that compares elsewhere, but it we've had to kind of learn to be surface level and gentle and ease into it because so many of us have had experiences where with catatonic angry individuals who just blow off the rail. And like you said earlier, if someone over here tells you they're going to kill you, you believe them. That's because that's a possibility, Like they
Yeah.
could be that crazy. You don't
Yeah.
know until you know, and once you know, it's too late. And
Yeah.
so, we kind of have to dance around that a little bit, but it is absolutely exhausting. I agree.
Yeah. It is. It is. But I also um well, I don't know. United States is very interesting in many regards, but then it's like I don't of course you can compare it to any country, but it's like I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's like the anger. In United States, even though like it's so rich in resources and in systems, it's also so poor
Substance.
in substance or providing something that is really meaningful because of for a country that is so rich in resources, it's kind of I cannot wrap my brain around it that there are so
Everyone's lonely. There's no villages.
yeah, there
There's
are
no
no villages or
connection.
there is such a lack of mental support for people who are suffering so much.
Hmm.
And uh also like when people are so angry and then also they have the access to tools for destruction of any sort, be it guns, be it drugs, be it whatever. And when
Fireworks.
they live in isolation, and it's very easy to believe your own truth and believe that it's like my own self-righteousness and think that I'm right and the world is wrong, and I can go out there and straighten them up and show them the right way. And it's yes, the villages and the community is really important because not only for the support that they can provide, but it's very important for us to be surrounded by people that are also maybe different from us, so we can see how we measure, and not only measure in regards to material gains, but also for, I guess, be it for values, be it for moral compass, be it for what is appropriate, what is not appropriate,
Hmm.
and so on.
Yeah, we really think that we have all of these values and all of these pro values, priorities, all of we think that we have our head on straight, but we are very focused on materialism
Oh
over
yeah.
people,
Mm-hmm.
money over people, like it's sickening, honestly. And we also have so much space to work with
Yeah.
that we can separate really easily and
Yeah.
isolate ourselves, whereas other countries don't have that luxury. You
Uh-huh.
have, like the nuclear home, where is a single person has a whole apartment or house to themselves, or
Yeah.
a single family has a whole apartment or house to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
is a luxury that a lot of countries don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to learn how to get along with one another, whereas we don't. We can just go shut ourselves in our room, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you have
Um,
that, good.
I'm sorry. No. Well, have you heard of Hofstede's cultural dimensions? It's they're like, I believe there are 6 or 7 cultural dimensions, and I don't know if I remember them correctly, but there was like collectivism versus individualism. Um I need to Google them, but there's like pretty much like a hierarchy, and how different societies measure on some of these aspects. And so it's like United States is a very individualistic culture, and the family that you're talking about is like we care only about us and our very immediate family, while in other countries it's like the family, but the family is extended family, and you're also very concerned about the image that you put in your community because you don't want to people to talk badly about you. Then it's also the hierarchy of like the respect that you pay, the distance between, I guess, what you perceive as figures of authority, like in some cultures, like the police officers or the teachers or the doctors, and you don't question them, you do as they say. But here in the United States, it's just like, I guess the social structure is just a suggestion. Like I can ask, for example, my college professor all the questions that I want to ask, and she's not going to scoff and be like, "Oh, you're asking stupid questions," or "How dare you?" Or like a police officer, you can man up and I guess become aggressive with a police officer, which is happens often. And it's like some other countries, that's like a big no-no. And so, I mean, these are some of the aspects of the American culture that is like give it a lot of freedom, but also depending on the context and how they're misinterpreted, they can also have a negative impact on on the individual or in the society in general. If I'm making
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, we're a little entitled. We think that we can just
I think it's like I'm sounding like I'm bashing the American
no.
culture, and I don't want to sound like that because it's like, it's like my husband is American. My kids I have 2 children that are, I mean, they're growing as American as they can be. I mean, they're yes, of course, they have like my blood in them, but it's like and this country has given me a lot of beautiful things and beautiful opportunities. So it's like I definitely don't want to leave the impression that I'm bashing everything that I'm surrounded by.
No, no. It's America is new. We're
Yeah.
only a couple of 100 years old. That's so baby, baby, baby. And we haven't figured things out. And the pendulum swings
Mm-hmm.
obnoxiously before it levels out. So we have to figure out what we're doing wrong before we can correct ourselves and move towards what's right. And everybody has a different, it's a democracy, and that means that everybody has gets an opinion. And
Yeah.
that's not something that is present in the rest of the world, for a reason, because some people's opinions are stupid. And
Yeah.
we are limited in what we can know as an individual. So we have to have these higher structures
Mm-hmm.
for conducting ourselves, because the more people you have, the more problems you have, unless you have a clear, concise structure of how things work.
Yeah.
And we haven't exactly figured that out yet.
Oh,
But
yeah.
man, do people think that they know some things when they don't know anything at all about the things.
Oh, definitely. But I guess like the biggest problem is that it's like to for people to want to know things or for people to want to self-reflect. And that's the other thing, that there's so many resources out there, like especially like in English. And if you want to know something, you can know it. But then in general, there is so little appreciation for knowledge
Hmm.
today, or so little appreciation for self-reflection or
Mhm.
self-inventory. And I mean, it's like, again, there are always exceptions, and there are so many people, like your bright example of people who dedicate their a big part of their life of like seeking the self-truth and self-knowledge and trying to enlighten other people. But in general, like, I mean, the average person is like, they're not bothered about wanting to know.
No,
And
yeah, I kind of had to come. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to figure out who I am and where my place is. It wasn't like, um, it came out of necessity, because most people know how to pretty well fit in. It's innate for
uh-huh.
us. We
Yeah.
want to fit in. We have to fit in order to, historically speaking, when we lived in villages, if the village didn't like you, you would be ostracized, and which is essentially a death sentence in,
Mm-hmm.
historical times, a long time ago, because you need a whole village to survive. And no, I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in anywhere, anyhow. Everyone was so mean to me from
Mm-hmm.
every level. So, and they were always telling me that I was the problem. So I didn't understand how I was being the problem. So I had to figure out how I was being the problem. And am I? Are you sure? And what I found out is overwhelmingly no, but also yes. But
Mm-hmm.
also, where I was the problem, I was a kid. I didn't
Yeah.
know any better. Nobody took the time to explain to me how I was being problematic. They just you know, whooped me and threw me in my room,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
yelling and hitting and stop. And there was no direction, there was no explanation. So I couldn't stop doing whatever was irritating or problematic or whatever, because I didn't understand what was going on. So, um, not everybody has that issue. Not everybody has to come at it from a point of survival, because they definitely
Yeah.
would have ostracized me or burned me at the stake or whatever had I been born at a
Yeah.
prior time in history. So, but also knowledge wasn't valued when I was growing up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame anybody for that. It was the culture. The culture
Mm-hmm.
was, you played football, you were a cheerleader, you aimed for homecoming queen, and then when high school was over, because you just hang out with friends and you get along with the friends, you become the popular kid, and then when high
Uh-huh.
school's over, you get married, settle down, find a good job, have a family. That's it. That's what you did.
It's
Nothing.
still the same, I think. It's
And
still the same values.
well, to an extent, a lot of people are opting out of having children and stuff these days. But, you know, for someone who wanted to read books and point out where you were wrong about things, that wasn't exactly
Yeah.
welcomed. So, like
Yeah.
I got most people when I was growing up dropped out of school.
Oh,
Uh, I think I was the first person in my family to make it to college. Uh,
nice.
yeah, not by choice. I did not want to go, but I was just, that
Uh,
was part of the linear path, what it was expected of you. And I tried so hard not to go, but I had no choice but to go. And I was so happy when I flunked out. And then my parents were like, "You're not flunking out. Here's some more money. Go back." And I'm like, "Oh." And then I flunked out again. And but
uh,
here I am back
yeah.
full
Well,
circle.
it's different when you have your own motivation to do it. I dropped out of college in Bulgaria too, but it was I don't know, it was many reasons, but I also because of the environment I always felt like less than there, and including like in college, and again because of like that, uh, what we were saying earlier, like that is like everyone is so unapproachable, like figures of authority. Like if you don't understand something in college, like you don't ask, you have to figure it out. It's like, and if you don't figure it out, it's then yes. And then also, my mom at the time, she lost her job and she couldn't support me anymore to be in college, and it's like it's college is a kind of differently structured than here, so it's a full-time college, like you go every day, and then there were, I don't know if it's different now, but there were not many opportunities for part-time jobs, and it was kind of like hard, and there was not such thing as student loans, and but then also colleges were almost nearly free. They were not something like here that you're in debt till the rest of your life. uh
Literally.
yes, but it's I told you in the past, but I really applaud you for learning how to thrive so close to your roots,
Yeah.
coming from such an environment, and being so strong to resist that, I guess, resist that environment, and to find your own way, and to go against the, I guess, against the current. Because I'm saying that because I know every time I go back to visit my family, and um my sister is just like what I have worked so many years on, I guess, relearning some patterns, or stop hearing certain voices from my childhood. Like the second I go there and step foot in my mom's home, is just everything goes out the door, and
hmm
I become much more reactive and much more emotional. And when I'm far away, I idealize and I romanticize me going back and moving there and being so close to friends and family and having different rhythm of life and enjoying the things that I used to enjoy. But the reality is not such. And
Yeah.
when I'm back there, it's very in some levels it's so much more re-traumatizing. And I cannot
hmm
find the I really cannot find the strength to just be there, be the more authentic version of myself, the one that I like more, the one that is not triggered by certain environments and stuff. So good job for being so strong.
Well, I mean, again, it was not a choice. It was more of a have to type of situation because I also was just, I was just biding my time until I turned 18 and could leave.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care where I was going, but I was going. I was going.
Yeah.
And then, me and Blake, we found him a couple of years before that. We've been together since we
Uh-huh.
were 16, and it just,
Oh wow.
he was not going to go anywhere, and I was not going to go anywhere without him. So here we are, had to figure it out.
Uh-huh.
But, if you had to be around them 24/7, like you would figure out it would work a little bit better towards where you wanted to be. Um, would it ever get to where you wanted to be? Who knows? It
Yeah.
definitely doesn't for me over here. I still keep a lot of space between me and the people who traumatized me, even though I have to see them all the time. And, you just kind of put those walls up and you be cordial and you deal with the situation the best you can, and you try to keep the peace the best you can, and
Yeah.
you try to be as, just I stay quiet over to myself. I speak when spoken to, but I never really offer anything because that's a bad formula for um, problems. And I just focus on the kids. If
Yeah.
it weren't for the kids, and my grandmother, I love my grandmother. My grandmother has been my rock my whole life, and I am just so
Uh-huh.
thankful for her. So I show up for her, and my dad's all right, and the kids, my nieces and my children and my cousin and his kids, and you know, you just try to do better for the next generation because we can't change anybody. They are who they
Mm-hmm.
are. They're going to be who they are. And if they don't want to change, there's nothing you can do about it. If they see no
Hmm.
reason to change, and, like, even if we can see all the reasons, like, what do you, like, there's tons of
Hmm.
reasons you need to change. If they don't see them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and, they can blame us all they want. That's okay. I mean, we just, do our
That's
best to
okay
be
on
the best.
words, but reality is not. It's a reality. I guess, I mean, depends on the person. It's like the
For
I
sure.
can tell myself all day long that's okay, and then when it hits me, I'm like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
happening?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like you're talking about space and boundaries, but they're also just families they that the boundaries, they just bulldoze through those boundaries,
Right.
and
It's a different culture.
and it's just like something that, and it's a lot of I don't know, um my I don't know if it's like, I don't know, there are so many things that I understand about Bulgarian culture when I moved away, and I think it's a lot like this about a lot of things in life, that is like you understand them once you put some distance. And then I don't know what is my family and what is the culture
Sure.
of the country in general. But in general, it's like, especially in my time, there was like mothers didn't really have time to play with their kids or to nurture their feelings and think about the impacts of their words. But then there is also my mom, who is slightly more manipulative and more, yeah, she's very manipulative, and she is a queen of guilt tripping you, and there is like, even though I might realize that that's what's happening, I'm such wired and programmed to operate in such way that even
Hmm.
though I might know what's happening, I cannot be like, okay, that's what she's doing, I'll just um react differently. Nope, there is no way. I'm just like a puppy, and yeah, so it's but yeah.
No, I understand completely. Sometimes it's like you'll see some light shine through, and
Uh-huh.
you'll be like, "Oh, maybe things are changing a little bit. Maybe things are shifting. Oh, look, they're trying, so I'm going to try too." And then it comes crashing down. You're like, "Oh, there it is. There it is. Silly
It's,
me. Silly
yeah,
me." We're programmed to not only want the love and acceptance of our village, but especially of our family.
exactly.
They're
Yeah.
supposed to be they're supposed to be the ones that care for us the most. Supposed
Yeah.
to be the ones that uh love us no matter
Uh-huh.
what. And it doesn't always translate because of their own, upbringings and traumas and situations and circumstances and their culture, which was probably different than our culture. And I don't know if I mentioned insecurities and traumas, but
Yeah.
you know, we're all just out here doing our best with
Yeah.
what we have available.
Yeah.
Some people could do a little bit more for sure, but
Mm. But then, as I say, I cannot change the people. I can just change the way I react to people. So, or if I thrive better far away, be it, I'll thrive better far away. But it's like, yes, as I said, it's like um, something is pulling me back. I don't know if it's my restlessness and romanticizing about, I don't know, but yeah, it's, and it's the other thing is that it's like, it's, as I said, I came from a family with a single parent. My parents divorced when I was maybe 4 or 5. And I guess the real damage was done by my father because he was the absent parent. He didn't want to do anything with us. And the few interactions that I had with him, he was, I don't know, they were more like forced on him. And he was, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. Uh, but he was, everything was, I don't know, he was not like a loving father or anything. But then, even though he was the one that did the real damage, he was the one that broke apart the family, he was the one that was physically abusive to my mom. The impact that I have on my life, the trauma that I have on my life, it's from my mom. It's not from him. And it's, you know, how hurt people, and I guess that's it. But then it's like the issues that I have, they should be with my father who has passed away, but they're actually with my mom, which is makes me, I don't know, I guess like a hypocrite. Yes, some sort of fashion, but it's, I don't know. Families are really complicated. Do you hear the chicken now?
Nope.
No, oh, okay. Yeah, she's announcing to everyone that she has laid an egg. So yeah. So
A lot of people are moving back towards, because, again, we're all starving for purpose and fulfillment,
sure.
and everybody's depressed, everybody's anxious, everybody's stressed out, everybody's lonely.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think a lot of people are finding, oh, and we also don't trust our food, our like then the FDA, that's kind of laughable. And so anyway, chickens are becoming a lot more commonplace. I think most people on my road have one now, and
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I love
That's
them.
that's something else that I hated when I was growing up because my grandma, she lived in the countryside and she had a garden, I guess, out of necessity and
Hmm.
chickens and stuff. And then um, at that time, people didn't have just a lawn with beautiful grass. Like every single piece of dirt that you had in your garden, in your yard, you were growing something. And I hated every part of it because like it was never choice for me to be like, hey, you want to come here and help me with this or that? And it was like, just come here and help and do this and that and that and that. And there was not really any fascination. And the chickens, I hated, like, I would have never, never, never in 1,000 years, I would have thought that I will come in the other end of the world, across a whole ocean, and I will have a garden and chickens, and I will be happy with that. I would, yeah, that would have definitely not be. I don't know. It's you know how I guess what they're saying is like when you grow up, like you do the things that you really hated as a child. I don't know if it's my upbringing or I don't know if I really, but no, I think it's like I really like being outside. Nature and trees, they really give me peace and solace. And I don't know if the
Hmm.
garden is manifestation of that or some form of that or it's I or in my programming, but it's like yeah, now it's like I really, I don't know, brings me real joy. And then the other thing is yes, the food, because is it really food that we buy from the grocery stores? And yes, but
So how'd you end up with chickens in a garden if you hated everything about it? What was
mm,
the?
the garden, I have been planting gardens for maybe 12 years. It's just in the last few years that I'm possibly more successful. In the beginning, it was just like I don't really know why I was planting gardens. It was just like something inside me was telling me that I have to plant something. Uh, the chickens are at the time I was working as a teacher in a high school. I was also working on my master's degree, and I was also having a toddler, and well, one of my children was 4 years old, and the other one was 2. And what happened is that for whatever crazy reason, I stopped at Tractor Supply. I've never been to Tractor Supply before, and they had ducks at the time. They didn't have chickens. And but I guess I have always like I don't know, it's like there was also this idea that I wanted to live on a farm, but we live in a neighborhood. And so a Tractor Supply, so I was on my way back from work. I stopped at Tractor Supply again. I don't have any idea why. And they had ducks. And I texted my husband and I asked him like, are you okay if I buy some ducks? And he said, okay. And then a few minutes later, I already cashed out with three little duckies, but we don't have a chicken house. We don't have anything. We really nothing, nothing. And like when I was cashing out, he texted back, do you mean toy ducks or dot dot dot? And so I came home and imagine like having a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, like the excitement that they have with the duckies. And my husband is like, just like, what in the world? What are you going to do with that? And I was happy and
They're so
nervous.
cute.
And then like it starts hitting me like, okay, what I'm going to do with those ducks? We don't have a place where to put them, and I don't know anything about ducks. And then the ducks started becoming really loud, very, 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 very loud. Then I had to figure out a way to send the ducks somewhere. But what happened is that 2 weeks later, I went to Tractor Supply again to buy food for the ducks, and they had chickens. And so I bought chickens this time, and I didn't bother asking my husband if he's okay with that because I knew what would be the answer. But I came home with, I think, 5 chickens. And
Wow.
then that was the summer of building a chicken coop out of the boards for our old deck and stuff. And now, 4 years later, we have chickens. We don't have ducks anymore because they got really loud. I had to give them away, but my older son, he still remembers them, and he says that I had to tell him that the ducks flew away and they wanted to go together with some other ducks at some pond. And when we go to Huntsville, and the pond, Spring Park, is a Spring Park.
Uh-huh.
They to this day they believe that our duckies live there. So, beat.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Um, Rowan got my parents gifted Rowan three chickens
Uh-huh.
for his second birthday.
Uh-huh.
They were like, here's some chickens. They gifted, I had no say in it. They were just like, here, happy birthday, grandson, chickens. I'm like, he's two. Who do you think's actually going to have to take care of this? So that was an adventure. And they found us a chicken coop, which was, it looked nice, but it was really old and falling apart. So
Uh-huh.
it was, it would, when it rained, it would leak in there, and then that causes mold and mildew, and then ants were a problem, and it was just so much work. And then we just had a backyard that was fenced in. We didn't have like a fenced in area for the chickens, which sounds great at first, except you've seen our back porch, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
really big, and it was just covered in chicken poop. Just it was such a mess. It was so gross. So when I was pregnant with Sage, it got to be way too much work, and we got rid of them. And
Uh-huh.
then, we recently got some this past year, and he's just been beside himself. He's
Oh.
starting to like come around and stuff. And he's like, I just knew it. I knew we'd end up with chickens again. But
Uh-huh.
I think maybe because I grew up not being able to trust the adults around me,
Uh-huh.
the government and the grocery stores and all were just an extension of the adults around me that I didn't trust. Right. And I also had my dad talking always about he's a history buff,
Mm-hmm.
not a very good one. I don't even know if he really understands half of what he's talking about. But he's fascinated with like old wars and struggle and strife, and he grew up um in an abusive household with uh I think they had running water, but his grandparents didn't have running water, and
Mm-hmm.
he spent a lot of time with them. And so he's just, he comes from a different world also, where you had to garden and you had to work to take care of yourself. And he was the second oldest in his between his siblings. So he barely finished high school, but he because he had to work to like take care of his little sisters, and so like I had him telling me all these stories, and then I spent most of my time with my grandparents, and my grandfather grew up in the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
So he has his own stories of struggle and strife. And then my grandmother, both of them were one of 14.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they were the oldest. So both of them were the second. That's weird. I've never noticed that. My dad was the second oldest. Both my grandparents were the second oldest of 14. So, that's a really hard lifestyle in,
Mm-hmm.
they had they were lucky if every single one of the kids had a pair of shoes. Um, there wasn't health care. So my dad tells this story about one of his cousins or something. Like they were working in the field with his uncle. One of his cousins got bit by a snake. They didn't know what kind of snake. The uncle just kind of picked him up, carried him back to the house, and then
Mm-hmm.
like, y'all keep working. Came out there, and then came back. They worked for the rest of the day, and about dusk, he was like, "Well, let's go up here and see if he survived." Because that's how
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And so just between all of that and I guess, the only place I found safety was in the woods and at the river and in nature. I became really connected to self-sustainability and
Uh-huh.
taking care of myself because nobody else was going to do it. There were no white knights coming to the rescue. You had to do it yourself. So, that's kind of how I was a prepper for a really long
Uh-huh.
time. You know what those
Yeah.
are?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's always been like my personality. And then I was a Girl Scout
Uh-huh.
for my entire childhood. So, which is, how me and you have come to be connected through scouts.
Yeah. But um so about gardening, what happened is that it's like in my college years in Bulgaria when I dropped out of college, again, because of my family situation, my mom was a single pa parent, my father very reluctantly providing child support while I was in high school. But then when I was in college, he was like, oh, I'm done. So my mom was the one that had to support me, and I was living in a different town. And so that's when like really gardening and stuff like that comes very essential. And then I guess like when I describe those things, like you imagine them through the perspective of the culture here, because here we're so dependent on cars. But in Bulgaria, especially back then, that was not the case. So I was living in a different town. I didn't have a car. I was commuting with the bus and stuff. And then also when my food supplies were low, my mom will send through the bus a package, a care package, I think you call it here, with a bunch of produce that from my grandmother that is like in jars, like preserved and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And it was really embarrassing to me because my roommates, they all came from families with two parents and families that are somewhat well off. And they were able to afford whatever they more things that I was, and they were not receiving care packages like on the bus, and they didn't have to wait uh, for those. And it was like it was really always something that I don't know. I hate it. And then also because of the cultural development, like in the 50s, a lot of people that were in the villages, they were moving to the big cities for the what big cities had to offer. And then what happened in my personal family is that my grandma, when my sister married her apartment in the big city, she decided to give that to my sister. And she decided that she wants to buy her a house again in the countryside. And that's when the whole garden became whatever, this cornucopia of food, but also a lot of demanding hard work and stuff that everyone had to be involved. But then because of those um that movement that didn't happen that long ago, there is still in the society back then, there was when I was growing up, there was a lot of shame that, oh, you have parents that in the countryside and you live and you eat a lot of food that they have prepared instead of going to the store and buying your tomato sauce like modern people from the store. Instead, you have your country family that is preparing all the, I guess, the canned food and stuff. So that's why I say that it's like in a million years, I would have not imagined that I will be doing right now this, because there was always so much, I guess, shame in a way associated with that way of living, especially as a young person. You want to so desperately to fit in, not to stick out, and then being the person that is receiving canned food from prepared from grandma, which now is like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
it's
even
flipped.
now it's like the value is shifting there, and a lot of people are wanting to go back to the land.
Mhm.
A lot of people are sending their children to these farms or farm schools in the summer and stuff. But when I was growing up, it was different. And then she was a gymnast, and she was accomplished gymnast, and she was very disciplined and perfectionist. And there was also very big stress on the appearance. You put your best self out there. When you have guests, you put your best plates out there, your best silverware, everything is for, I guess, for the appearance. And you wear high heels and that. And I was nothing like that. And it was, yeah. And hence, here I am.
And look how
Yeah.
much character building it gave you.
And yeah, I guess, yeah.
I'm ruining my children by giving them luxuries and comfort and softness. You know,
Yeah.
they're never going to be as cool as you and I are.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't know how my children will they grow like loving this, or they'll be like, oh, my mom, the things that she was making me do.
Who knows? Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
I feel like I pretty well have a good understanding of Rowan and who he is and how he'll feel moving forward with all the things. But I'm also with him 24/7. So
Yeah.
we have that established like that depth, and
Mhm.
he'll talk to me, and he's I always heard you have to be a parent, not a friend.
Uh-huh.
And I always felt like you had to be like I always felt that you had to be both, because I what I had was a parent, and I'd go to my friends' houses, and so their parents were more of the friend side, right? And I explained to my mom and this was this was a liberating type of development that I was able to have this conversation with my mom uh recently-ish, like in the past year, something like, and I think about it all the time. But she brought up, parent, not a friend. And I was like, look, you have to be both, because if you if you just bark orders at them, they're going to get resentful. And if they don't
Mhm.
understand why, they're not going to go through with it. But
Mhm.
if they respect you, if they understand that, where you're coming from and why, and and then they can see how you have their best interests at heart, then they're more willing to work with you. And, we always want to control children. And, or
Yeah.
at least in this culture, people want to control children, and children are supposed to be seen, not heard. And they're just look pretties to stand by you. It's just something, it's like a trophy to put on display. Um,
Yes.
I think it's getting better for sure. We're in such these huge cultural shifts all around. And I think the internet for that, you know, but, what movie, this was always my go-to example, is if you have a movie where a bunch of kids get into trouble, usually the movie starts out with the parent being like, don't go do that thing,
Mm-hmm.
but no explanation to why. So then the
Yeah.
kids are like, "Oh, why? I'm so curious. Now I have to figure out, find out." And like sometimes they'll even ask the parent, "Well, why not?" "Well, because I said so." Or it's just not safe, or
The
we
law.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Something like that. And like, "Oh, I have to go see." I've never sheltered my kids. I've never protected them from the truth because I feel like we're spending their childhood we're supposed to be preparing them for adulthood and the world. But if we're
Mm-hmm.
treating them like children, baby talk and,
Yes,
oh, mommy knows better. No, just trust me. Oh, because I said so. They're not learning anything. They're just,
definitely.
and then we're raising children instead of adults. And then they become, a very immature 25, 30-year-old who can't take care of themselves and has never actually made their own sandwich or done their own laundry. And
Yeah.
so I always push mine off the cliff as soon as I
Uh-huh.
can.
It's
Obviously, but
it was a few years ago. I didn't have children yet, and no, I did. My I had Nico, and I don't know, I don't remember. It's like I remember that my niece, in Bulgaria, she was 5 years old at the time, and it happened that in the same day, I spoke with my sister over the phone, and then it was also some holiday. I believe it was Thanksgiving, and we also like in the evening we went to my mother-in-law, actually to my husband's grandma. And so what happens that when I spoke with my sister over the phone, she was also giving some instructions to her daughter, my niece that was 4 or 5 at the time, and she was trying to cut apple with a knife, like 5-year-old. And I was like, "Oh, why are you giving her a knife? She's too young." And she's like, "She's 5 years old. She can use a knife. She can learn to do that." I was like, okay, that's okay. I mean, like, I'm not the parent. I cannot have whatever say." And then it happened that it's like later that day we went to Robert's grandma, and my nephew is there, and he's 12 or 13 years old. And he was asking me to cut him a piece of pumpkin pie. And I said, like, yes, I would love to cut you a slice of pie, but why are you not cutting it yourself? And he said, because my mom doesn't want me to use knives. And it was more of like a spatula knife. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So which one, which way is the middle? And it's like, because
uh-huh.
like, and then I have like a 5-year old that she thinks that her daughter is like old enough to use a knife to cut apple from all things. An apple is a hard, hard, hard fruit. And it's like, I can assure you that it was not a butter knife. It was like a full-grown knife. And then we have a 12-year-old boy that cannot cut a pumpkin pie with a spatula knife. So, yeah, it's different. It's very different. And at the time, I was working at a nonprofit organization. I was supposed to provide cultural awareness trainings for first responders for when they work with people from foreign-born communities experiencing domestic violence. And I always gave that example because we always view things from our own perspective and from our own experiences and our own upbringing. And I think that that's the only way. And we cast judgment of anything that is different. But
Mhm.
then it's like really like where is the middle? And like saying about like you pushing your kids off the cliff and whether I should be their friend or their parent. And yes, I agree with the middle ground and that I have to give them the explanation. But then it's like also sometimes I'm so concerned that it's like am I becoming overly permissive because of my parents or because like I mean I'm trying to I get be super cool because my mom was not like that and to be their friend and they're pushing further and further and further or I don't know it's really hard to define my own way as a parent and like
Mhm.
now I feel a certain way about phones or when they should have a phone And every day they come home and tell me that their classmates have a phone and why they cannot have a phone. Or my little one, he really struggles with junk food. He really, really, really struggles with junk food. And he comes home and he's upset because his classmates, they have chips for snack, or they have whatever, goldfish or gummy bears and stuff, and he's mad at me that he does not have that. And will that backfire one day? And he'll be like, okay, I'm free now and I can just indulge in all the McDonald's there is.
Yeah.
Stuff like, even with all the explanations that I provide all day long, why you cannot have a phone or why you shouldn't be eating whatever you're eating. And yeah.
Yeah. Parenting, like any other relationships, it's an art and
Uh-huh.
a delicate dance that is completely unique to each individual person. And you have to figure out how to navigate those relationships with each individual person. And like parenting one kid's going to be completely different from parenting another kid because you could
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. So
Definitely.
like there is no right answer. There is no like there's no wrong answer. Well, there's probably some wrong answers. Uh
Yeah.
Finding what's right for you and your kid is the same as figuring out what's right for you and your husband, or you and your mom, or you and your friend, like, and it's going to be completely different everywhere. Parenting is one of the hardest navigations for a lot of different reasons, for
Uh-huh.
sure, because it's a little bit easier to release control of like what my friend does. If I don't agree with what my friend does, it's like, oh, well, I mean, okay, that's your life. But if it's your kid, that makes it
Hmm.
a little bit harder because they're an extension of you and they're a reflection of you. And Blake absolutely melts at how Rowan refuses to wear real pants. He's a sweatpants guy through and through. And even at 11 years old, we just cannot seem to grasp that our clothes are not napkins. So he's always dirty. But I mean, like, he's dirty because he's not sitting in front of video games all day.
Uh-huh.
He's not
Yes.
scrolling on his phone all day. He is dirty because he's outside playing in the dirt with the chickens
Uh-huh.
and learning about the different plants that are in our yard. We spent like an hour yesterday identifying plants and can you eat that? Because he loves foraging and whatnot. And
Oh.
he spends all of his time either outside playing or in the kitchen cooking. And so, I mean, like, and
That's
I'm
amazing.
constant, him and Blake fight. And he's like, you can't leave the house like that. And I'm like, okay, but like, do we really have time for you guys to fight? And then we're going to finally get out the door and he's been crying and now he's stuck in a mood and you're mad and you're trying to make it better, but you put on this fake persona of trying to make it better. And, like we all put
Yeah.
on those like, masks where it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Superficiality. Full circle. We were talking about that earlier and how it's so hard to navigate people because no one's honest with how they are. And that is really refreshing in other cultures, for sure. Because and we were talking on that hike to the Bat Cave when we went camping over
Mhm.
there about how Northerners are rude in the nicest way, and uh, or is it the other way? They're very straightforward. A lot of other cultures have that. They're very
Mhm.
straightforward. They're very to the point, and there's no
Mhm.
fluff. There's no
Mhm.
circling around. There's no and we don't have that around here. Everybody wants to and yeah. And then how do you build relationships like that?
Yeah.
It's hard. That's why everybody's lonely.
It is so hard. It is so hard. But then also, we're so busy pretending that everything is so great in our life that I guess that also, I don't know, is it's like I'm lucky enough to be blessed with a few friends from my years when I was still living there. That is like to this day, even though I might not speak with them for a year when I speak with them, it's as if time has not passed. And it's I don't know why is it like that, but it's like it's so easy to be really real and to be really to share about the things that okay, we have, for example, money troubles or things at home are not going great, or I
Hmm.
struggle with this and that. And here in I feel like if I keep it real like that, I'll be either a Debbie Downer or I will be whining too much or I will be sharing too much information or I don't know, like I felt that it's not it's not it does not sit well with people. And then I have this friend, she's from Uzbekistan, and it was a while back. I don't know what we were talking about. And she says, like, when she was back at her country, Uzbekistan is in Asia and used to be part of the Soviet Union, but it's its own country. I don't know much about it, but it's like I mean I know it's like she's pretty much she's Russian, has a lot of Russian values, but Uzbekistan has also a lot of Muslim people. So I don't know the whole makeup of the society. But she's saying like back home, you have a problem, you call your friend, you talk about it, and you feel better after that. Your friend is your shrink. And here, you don't have a shrink. You don't have friends like that, and you have to go pay people to listen to your problems. And that really stuck with me because it's like that's I didn't know that it's like I crave that connection that much with people. That connection is really I don't know, really important to me. And the last time when we were back there, my resolution was when I come here to really, I guess, find my village and the village where I feel comfortable to to be like, okay, this is bothering me in my life and this I like a real connection, if I'm making sense.
Hmm.
Yes, but it's really hard. It's really hard because I do have close friends here. I have like there is these people that I have maintained relationship for years and years and years, and to this day, it's like when I ask, "Is everything okay?" Yes, everything is okay, and I see that it's not okay, but it's it's we can laugh and we can do things that are fun, but we cannot be there for each other when things are
Yes,
hard.
absolutely. Absolutely. I always talk about how Blake's the only relationship I've ever been able to keep. And I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure it's because he feels like he's committed and trapped at this point. Because nobody wants to talk about their emotions or their feelings. They're all bottled up. They're all, that's my problem, not your problem. I'll just figure it out myself. And them figuring it out themselves is drinking themselves to sleep
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
turning to drugs or even suicide or self-harm or, and that's so
Uh-huh.
unhealthy. But I struggle with that myself. I've always been an oversharer,
Uh-huh.
essentially.
Yeah.
But to me, and again, it took me forever to figure out that that's what was happening, as I was oversharing. Uh,
Yeah.
but to me, it wasn't overshare. To me, it was just trying to connect and talk about, figure out my problems and, you
Uh-huh.
know, feel like anybody gave a shit about them. And more often than not, eventually I would be too much
Uh-huh.
and they would ghost me.
Yeah.
They would leave and they would never come back. I have serious abandonment issues.
Uh-huh.
Serious abandonment issues. I've never really had a friendship that lasted for a long period of time
Mm-hmm.
because, and I get it that I was probably a Debbie Downer for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I had a lot of trauma that I needed to sift through and figure out. And you don't know how to get to the other side until you work your way through all of that garbage and find out, what the truth actually is. Because, trauma
Yeah.
gives us all of these. ideas and beliefs about what the truth is. And it's hard to navigate paying bills and functioning at a job and being a mom the way you're supposed to be and keeping up with the housework and holding up this persona and making sure
Yes.
your hair's washed and like it's just we have 1,000 different things pulling at our attention all the time. We don't have time for your feelings, you know.
Yeah.
Like, gosh,
Yeah.
Savannah, pull it together. We
Yeah.
all are sad sometimes. Get over it. Let's go. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
yeah, so.
Exactly. And yeah, it's different. But then it's also honesty is good, but then also too much honesty might be not that good. I don't know. It's because
Where's the line? Where's the middle?
where is the line? Yeah, because like if here like I ask my someone's like, "Hey, am I fat?" and they're like, "Oh no, you're perfect." But it's like if back to come like I say like, "Am I fat?" Well, no, I even don't have to say it. Like I don't even have to ask. Like they'll tell me like, "Oh, you're fat. You have to watch what you're eating." And I remember I one of my close friends, like my husband, he really thinks that she's not good for me because in one of our visits, I was it was shortly after I had my children. And in general, like, yes, I have gained some weight over the years, but it's like in Bulgarian culture, there is so much stress on weight and how women look. And I have like, even though it's like when I was growing up, I was size 8, uh, that was considered fat because everyone else was size 4, size 6. And so now I'm not size 8 anymore. But in Bulgaria, I'm just considered like shame. Uh, but it's so one of the visits, my friend told Robert that he should really help me work out and watch my diet and keep an eye on me and my eating and stuff. And so my husband is appalled that she is telling him to do that, and who does she think she is, and how dare she criticize uh me, or how dare she suggests that he would do that to me. And to this day he thinks that that's a very bad friend, and it's not because like of where like because of the sincerity of the relationship, because she had told me those things to me as well, and we grew up together, and she has been equally judgmental of her own weight. And her father one time, like when he saw me, he did not see me for 5 years, and when he saw me, the first thing he said is like, "Hey, good to see you. I see they feed you very well in the United States." And I mean, yes, I don't know why he thinks that I don't have a mirror at home, and I don't know why he thinks that I really need that. But it's that's what people do, and it's like
Uh-huh.
it's if I have such a criteria of high criteria and expectation of like they shouldn't do those things. Yes, I mean people are more hurtful, but then I don't know. It's I don't know. I don't know which way is right and which way is not right. And yes, they're like they some of the things can be spared. Like yes, I mean, do I really need you to tell me that I'm fat? Yes, I know that I'm fat and I beat myself all day long that it's like I might have a few extra pounds. So it's like your input is not really necessary. But then in other situations, that honesty is really something to cherish, is how I see it.
Sure. Uh, Historically speaking, that's how the culture was over here as well. I was always a chubby kid. I was a fat kid. Um, at my, like, for one, though, I had no idea that eating too much is how you got fat. Like, it
Oh.
didn't occur to, like, I didn't know. It's crazy the things you don't know. Um, like in elementary school, we would go to lunch and my friends wouldn't be eating their burgers or their cookies. And I'm like, can I have that? So I would eat
Yeah.
two cheeseburgers and four cookies,
Uh-huh.
every day, and I had no idea. So my biggest, I was probably a size 16, or I know I was a size 16, but it was probably when I was like 12. So I was like a
Uh-huh.
size 16 when I was 12. And then my parents decided they were going to put me on this diet. But again, just like I didn't know that eating too much is what made you fat, they didn't know what a diet was. They didn't know what healthy food was. So, for like a year or like a year, maybe a little longer, the only thing I was allowed to eat was salad.
Oh, uh-huh.
But they were all fried chicken salads drenched in cheese and ranch and bacon and croutons with like iceberg lettuce, which is nutritionally void. So like
Uh-huh.
it didn't really do anything, right? And I got so tired of eating salads and I wasn't allowed to eat anything else, so I just stopped eating completely. So I became
Uh-huh.
pretty anorexic for
Oh,
a while and
uh-huh.
I went from a size 16 to a size 10, and that was the smallest I ever was in my life. And then I leveled out to a 12, and that's just kind of where I've hung out for the rest of my life. Very average. Like I could work harder and get
Uh-huh.
smaller, but I mean, like I'm comfortable and I really like pasta and cheese and
Yeah.
bread. But I have this one grandmother. Well, she's passed away now, but I had this one grandmother, and she was my great grandmother that I had never met until I was 17. And she was legally blind, so she had this situation where she could see around the edges and her peripherals a little bit, but she couldn't see anything straightforward. So, like there was black spots in the center of both of her eyes. And so the first time I ever met her it was when I was 17, and she was like, "Can I hug you?" I was like, "Yeah." So she hugged me. She went, "Oh, you're healthy." That's how.
Adorable.
Yeah. So that's how Southerners tell you you're fat. Oh, you're healthy.
That's funny.
Yep. Mm. But people give us complexes and then we take them, and we don't know what healthy is until we talk about it with people and consume knowledge on the internet and figure it out. And we all, we want to go there's people look down to everything, no matter what it is. And just you're going to find a pocket of people who look down upon every single thing there is.
Hmm.
So and when you realize that there's no winning, it makes things a little bit easier to just kind of do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. But it's like, yeah, I guess the most important is like self-reflection, self-realization, and willingness not to perpetuate mm, the negative impacts that have shaped us. And yeah, maybe there
Yeah.
are a lot of important things, but some of
Yeah.
them.
Well, we can start wrapping this up and stuff. It's been an hour and a half,
Mm-hmm.
but I really, I really appreciate you coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I hope it proved to not be scary and stuff. It's
Uh-huh.
eh,
Like the lack of not knowing where things are going, that was a little bit scary because
sure.
I guess yeah, it was really very free-flowing conversation.
Yeah, and that's what I try to explain to people. But there's so many. No, most people do have a script or a
Mm-hmm.
topic or direction, and like there's value in that, but that's just not how I do things. I feel like it's too, if it's scripted or structured or even has a topic of it, like it's suffocating. It doesn't allow you the freedom to explore other things and whatnot. But
Yeah.
most people get very intimidated by
Mm-hmm.
being on screen at all. So I get it. But
Yeah. Yeah, it was not as scary as I was imagining. It was like, why did I agree to do that? What should I do? And then it's like, oh my gosh, my child is at home, he's sick, the deck is a disaster, the chickens are in the background. Oh my gosh, this and that. And so yeah, it was none of that. So I appreciate it. I appreciated that you made it very like all our other conversations. So
and
thank
that's
you.
what I want. That's what I want to bring to people is that
Mhm.
is how, because nobody knows how to have a conversation anymore. You know,
Yeah.
uh we get there's cognitive dissonance that's an issue,
Hmm.
and there's filtering things through our own traumas,
Hmm.
which makes us lash out and feel certain types of way and get our feelings hurt and take things personally and
Hmm.
internalize things. And you know, e- even though speak the same language, we don't
Hmm.
speak the same language. Like no, like
Hmm.
that's why I'm fascinated with languages as well. Not nearly to the extent of you. Even though I did try to teach myself Elvish, like from Lord of the Rings, when I was in
Uh-huh.
middle school. So I spent a hot time trying to do that before I realized that there was no use because there was no internet back then. So it's not like I could find a forum or a group. And it was like we're all teaching ourselves how to speak Elvish. There was no Duolingo for that. Uh, but I did try that for a while.
That's admirable.
Um, but you know, language is fallible, and it's even people don't understand. They think that I speak English, you speak English, we should understand each other, but we don't most of the time. Like there's a million different ways that you could analyze every single sentence. And if
Yeah.
we spend all of this, that's something that I've had to learn how to do is like I can see people misunderstanding me, and I have to
Hmm.
fight the urge to continuously explain myself and like further and further and further
Hmm.
because I've tried before, and usually they still don't get it at the end of the day, and then I walk away being I'm the weird one and too much, and you know anyway. uh I like having these just real conversations to help show people how to have real conversations and how you
Yeah.
can explore ideas without getting upset, or, like keep an open mind and bring realness to our lives. Because with social media, and even before social media, movies and TV shows and the news and magazines, it was all always fake. But
Hmm.
that's the filter that we seeped ourselves in, that's the soup that we evolved in. And real life is messy. It's chaotic. It never goes as you expect it to. It never goes as planned, and a lot of people can't handle that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's like we have this argument with my husband about like texts, like that I tend to over-explain myself, but I'm I always like this in background is like, okay, am I using the right words? Do people understand what I mean? There is a language barrier. There is, and so it's like I pretend I prefer to over-explain myself versus him with his 3-word text that after that I have to ask 10 more questions. But the other thing is that I don't know if I really love or I have a natural inclination for uncomfortable conversations, but it's just like this, like no politics, no religion. They're just like I always find my way around asking these uncomfortable questions. And I I guess where it came from, I don't know if things have changed, but you are you get together with people. That's something else. It's like get together with people in where I come from. Everyone is sitting at the same table. There are multiple conversations happening. People argue, people get loud, and people drink together and they laugh, and it's all okay. And people talk about all the uncomfortable things. They disagree, and it's all good. And here in the United States, it's not like that, and it's becoming even more so.
uh-huh.
And I guess I still didn't learn the lessons that you should not ask personal questions. And I ask personal questions. And most of the time, people answer their personal questions. And I don't know if they, I don't know, it's like I've rarely have I felt that I'm too interrogating or that I have felt that I'm asking too much. I mean, I don't know. I think it's to me personal questions, they show care.
Hmm.
They show that you listen that I mean I don't know, to me it's important because like the other thing is that it's like I've noticed that it's like when I talk with people I feel this pressure that maybe I put it on myself to ask questions because I feel like if I don't ask something the conversation will be just like, and how is everything okay, and then we'll stay and stare because they're not going to ask anything back. And I don't know if it's because people don't want to ask things, so they're not um rude, or I don't know, but it's like some social dynamics like this are really exhausting. But yeah, the other thing is like we went to this Cub Scout trainings for the den leaders. And of
Mhm.
course, like, I mean, yeah, I was in the car and with Chris and Brianna for so long. So eventually, I mean, I was with them for so long, eventually I had to ask all the personal questions of who is a Democrat and who is a Republican, putting it nicely, and what are their attitudes towards immigrants. And it's like it was it's a big no-no in our society. But then to me that conversation was like, I don't know, really invigorating, and it was really important for me to know who is standing where. And it's it's just but then it's like I came home and I started having these regrets creeping, and I was like, oh my gosh, Maya, why did you do that? Why were you having these conversations with people? Because like people, because ultimately I am trying to exist and to fit in this cultural context, and I don't want to. I mean, I have had of my fair share of like not fitting in, and it's like if I want to fit in, I shouldn't be doing things like that, right? It's like I should be like just
Well,
like keeping with the status quo. I should be doing the things that are doing. But then it's like my husband, he has this friend, and they have been friends for 20 years, and he lives in Colorado, and they see each other like once a year, and they speak occasionally on the phone, but then it's like I don't know what they talk about. But then he doesn't know anything that is going on in Shane's life, the name of the friend. Like, and he's like he's my husband says like, oh, I didn't want to ask him because I didn't want to be rude. And then when I have a minute with Shane, I know everything that is going on with his life. I know about his struggles with work, I know about girlfriends, and so on. And it's, I don't know. It's fine with me. He didn't say that it's not fine. Um,
yeah, people don't know how to have conversations. And it could be seen as being nosy or being in their personal inform or stuff, but it can also be seen as, like our culture is so go, 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 go. Nobody takes the
mhm,
time. Nobody has the time. We got to hurry up. We got to get to the next thing. And we know that if we ask a personal question, we could open up a can of worms, and then we could
mhm.
be stuck there for an hour while we play therapist.
Yeah. But what's so wrong with playing a therapist? I mean,
I
that's
agree
like,
completely. How else are we supposed to build these deep connections with people? That's why everybody's lonely. That's why everybody feels
yeah.
disconnected and like they don't have a village because t having a relationship takes time and it takes effort and it takes space to hold for them and for them to hold for you and for you to open up about what's bothering you so that they have the opportunity to be there for you. Because if we keep it all bottled up and the culture is not to ask, then we feel
Hmm.
like nobody cares and we're just fading into nothingness and despair on our own. And it's a hard navigate, but things like this help for sure.
Good.
And I think you're wonderful. I adore you. I think you
Oh,
can I
thank you.
co- you can come on here anytime. We can have conversations anytime. I love talking to you. You're such a breath of fresh air because
Oh,
I feel the
thank.
same. I never know where I stand with people, so I just kind of keep quiet because I've
Uh-huh.
learned that they don't want to talk about things. They don't want to, and like I'll quickly offend someone by just asking a simple question. And that's it's so hard, but I don't have to
Well,
worry about that with you.
I listened the other day to your solo episode. The one that you were saying that people, you don't choose your friends, they people just come in your life. And it really stuck with me because I don't know, I I have been sometimes too fast to cast a judgment of like, oh, people here in Elkmont are this and that and that. But then the reality is that, for example, you're from Elkmont and
Mhm.
you're such a breath of fresh air. And uh wherever I have been, I have always come across people that are neat and interesting. And I think that it's really important in our life to put ourselves in situations where we can experience different people and different things and people. who can offer us different perspectives. And I should be not so fast to, but I think it's like in general, like we're all very fast to pass the judgment to put things in a box. Okay, that person is from Elkmont and that is this and that and that and that. And yes, I mean, stereotypes, it's not that they're not true, but often they don't show the full picture.
Yeah.
And
They're not the end all be all.
yes, and yeah, it really stuck with me. That is like people just come in our life and we don't choose them. And there is, I think there is a lot of beauty in that, a lot of beauty, because I think we have something to take from every person that crosses our path and a lesson to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people in my life who I am closest with,
Hmm.
who mean the most, who I know I can call if I need something, are oftentimes the people who get on my nerves the most. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I'm
Yeah.
always like, how did I end up with you? Like, why are
Yeah.
we here? But you just love people for who they are and you cultivate the relationships that come into your life. And I think we're too choosy, you know, we're
Hmm.
we're historically I could go on for do you have time? Like do you have somewhere you need to be?
I have a child that I need to check on soon, but no, it's keep going.
Okay, well, I was gonna pause real fast so I could run to the bathroom because I'm dying.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do
Okay,
that.
let's do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
I meant to tell you sooner than now, but we're not doing the yoga today because for a couple of reasons. For one, I made the mistake of not putting the yoga class into my calendar. So
Hmm.
then Sage's dentist appointment got scheduled on top of it. So
Hmm.
they're happening at the same like time period. So I couldn't make it anyway, but you were the only person who showed interest. I think I'm fixing to quit yoga.
No, no, no. It gives you way too much. No.
But it's also my biggest
Give it a
stressor.
break. I think it's like, I mean, I think more importantly, I think you need a break because I mean, I in that same episode, you're saying that you need a break from podcast. So use the same wisdom and maybe just take a break, take some distance, and uh, a lot of revelations come with a distance. And I think it's like you love yoga way too much, and like you want to quit it because of how challenging it is to find people to come to the play to the venues where you want them to come, or
So I think my biggest issue right now is just that there's zero free space in my calendar. Like there's just every moment of every day is scheduled and I have to create some space somewhere.
so
So
aren't you approaching it from the wrong angle though? Because like from what you have said before, I perceive that yoga and podcasting, those are your two biggest passions.
they are.
So don't you need to do the freeing space? I mean, of course, you cannot quit being a mom.
Right. Right. So
And
and Sage can't quit softball
yeah,
and Rowan can't quit scouts.
uh-huh.
And I can't re-quit college. I just started.
Yeah. Well, but then summer is coming, and I know it's like this, like April and May, they in general they tend to be more hectic, but it's just
That
a
is true.
season. And then the Spanish class is almost over, but of course you don't have obligation to that one to continue it. But it's like it's over in 2, 3 weeks, so then there is some room there, and it's just
It's also one of my favorite things that I do. I
oh
love your classes.
oh
I want this to work out for you so badly. Uh,
uh-huh
you're so good at it. Your
oh thank you.
personality is wonderful. You're hilarious. You make things fun and you make things digestible. And I've learned more in your class than I have in the whole like 4 collective years that I've studied Spanish.
Um, well, thank you. That means really a lot. And I do have big visions for um, the Spanish class. I just have to overcome the hurdles of putting myself out there. But yes, ultimately, I want to have language school that also does and have offshore location to in a Spanish speaking country where people can dedicate time to go to for 2 weeks in a language school in that particular country. But anyways, that's like a multiple years plan. But first I have to, yeah, I have to become really comfortable with marketing and stuff. But I'm really glad that you take away this from the Spanish class. It really, really makes me very, very happy because I love it too. It brings me great, great, great joy. And it's such a different dynamic than teaching Spanish to high school students who don't want to learn Spanish
Hmm.
and have zero appreciation in general for um, world languages and stuff. So it's
Hmm.
because languages, they're such a love for me. And I thought that is like if I go teach in high schools, I will share this love and I'll spread the love. And the reality is that it took away from my love
Right.
because I was so drowned into the daily bureaucracy and
Hmm.
struggles and the emotional luggage that students had that it was just, yeah, it was poisoning my love. But so right now, doing it on my own, um, with adults, it's very different and it's very nurturing for my soul. I really, really needed it because when I went to do the masters, I went back to school to do the masters in foreign languages and education. My goal, like what I had in mind, is to have my own language school one day. And then I forgot along the way that that's what I had in mind. And then I got like caught up in life and going to teach in high school. And yeah, I lost my way. And so now I'm trying to find it.
High schoolers are hard. Like
Yeah.
high schoolers are hard. What about teaching younger kids?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that I have that. You know how some people are super good with kids? I don't think that I'm that person. I I can be good with my kids, but with the general kids, like I don't know. And I also I you know how Harley is? She's very easy to straighten up like other people's kids.
Yeah.
Do that about her, but and I always want to do that. But then I'm like, um, maybe it's like what I carry from being a teacher and how parents interfere all the time and tell you how dare you not acknowledge how special my kid is and how dare you tell my kid what to do. And so I don't know. It's and then I don't know, like people that are good with kids, they you have to know how to extract, how to make them want to give you the best version of themselves. And I'm not, I'm,
I think you're selling yourself a little short on it. I get it. I get it. And because I have the same issue, I would love to. So with yoga, I think I want to rework things. I don't want to keep doing it the way I'm doing it. I want to do it some way else. And I've played with the idea of teaching kids for a really
hmm
long time, but I'm terrified to teach
hmm
kids because, again, they're parents. You don't know. You don't know what they're going to be cool with and what they're not. Um, Talking to you made me realize maybe keeping, because I also can't command a classroom, like if we have unruly, like I'm too soft spoken. I'm too gentle. I'm like, hey, let's go. Hey, come on, like, why don't we go over here? But yeah,
Yeah,
Harley does much better. We would need her to police for us in the corner.
yeah, yes, 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 yes,
Maybe if we kept the classes small, like five tops.
yes.
And would that mean that we would probably need to do more classes? Yes. But
Mhm.
that would also mean that we would be able to navigate and command a lot easier because like five kids is a whole lot easier to navigate than like 10 kids. 10 kids is just chaos. That's you're you're herding cats at that point. Like there's not a whole lot that you really can teach them unless you keep it super superficial.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
you
My classes were 24, 28 kids. So what do you do with 20? what and teenagers. And yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like um it's inevitable when you spend so much time with people that they take away part of your heart, like you give yourself emotional and you get attached and stuff. And it's like in every class you form like these relationships and stuff. But it's like in general, it's hard. And it's like you have like and those hormones are running so wild. And yeah, and someone wants attention but is asking for attention the wrong way and is being loud and obnoxious, and then the other person is hurt and sad, and then the third person wants to learn but the fourth person doesn't want to learn. And it's just, yeah, and when you have 24 to 28 kids, it's just what are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think teachers are, there's definitely too much on them. Where did you teach at?
Decatur High School.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was and then it's like on top of that, this was um like my principal, she was at the time, she was very proper white southern from, should I say, Russellville, Alabama, Rogersville. Very churchy, very Christian, very you have to be like me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the school was very diverse. Like the population was third white kids, third black kids, third Hispanic kids. And there was me, the person with an accent that, since I had an accent, I had to be Hispanic and nothing else. And on top of that,
Mhm.
teach Spanish. What else could I be?
Sure.
And
We're
yeah,
not used to anything else around here.
yeah. And then it's like, I mean, I understand that. It's like in general, it's like, I mean, yeah. And who has heard about Bulgaria from all places? And it's like, why in the world a person would learn more than one language? Anyway, so yeah, I was like causing a lot of confusion. So it's like everyone thought that I'm Hispanic. And then I don't know. It was very hard to navigate because there was not um much support from the administration.
Sure.
Uh, there was a lot going on with the student body, and I don't know. I had parents. One parent complained that I called her son homophobic, and I might have done so. I mean, because I had a student who was also um, either transsexual or I think more of intersexual, but was manifesting in the world as transsexual. And other students were super ugly towards that person. And how can I tolerate that in the classroom? And I pulled the student that I called homophobic, possibly. I mean, I know that we were talking about homophobia. I don't know if I told him directly, like, you're homophobic, but then it's like I was called in the principal office because how dare I call a student homophobic? But how is it okay to allow student to be so ugly to another human being? How
Mhm.
how is that okay in a place where we glorify the church and we think of ourselves as good Christians, but then we are okay to yeah, so things like that. So I couldn't thrive there. And like teaching in general is like I have heard about all the problems in the schools and stuff, but I didn't imagine the scale of it. And even though when I started teaching, I was in the United States for already 12, 13 years, it was still such a I experienced a bigger cultural shock than the one that I experienced when I first came in the United States, because it was too much. It was really, it gave me the biggest insight about cultural values, about what young people aspire to be, about family dynamics and how broken the family unit is, about
Mhm.
um, dysfunctionality of the educational system, about how little appreciation there is about education, about what we're aspiring to be as a society and stuff. And it was just like, I don't know, it made me so I don't want to overuse the word depressed, but that's the word. It made me so depressed about the outlook of society in general and about like what's the point of anything when we have these young generations that we are making them so broken. Not only their parents, but we as a society are making them so broken. When we as a society think that them going to their football practice is more important than them staying in Spanish class, for example, or it's just was too much. So hence I quit to spare my mental health, got the
Hmm.
chickens, and now I'm trying to teach Spanish to adults. Gotta
Yeah.
have all priorities in order.
Well, I'm glad you do. I mean, the systems sure don't, and
In order.
it's very we have so many studies that show what we're doing is not like in schools, for example, in the public school system. To for okay, let me rein myself back a little bit. We have tons of studies that show that general practices in school systems are not the best way to do things and can be
Uh-huh.
actually harmful.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we have studies that show that our standard medical practices are not the best way to do things. There's all sorts of studies that counteract the standard practices in all of our systems
Mm-hmm.
and say that they are not the way things should be done. And the way things should be done are oftentimes pretty simple fixes,
Yeah.
but we're so stuck in our ways. And this is how we've always done things. And
Don't want to rock the boat.
don't want to rock the boat. Especially, like people, they get into position because they're like, oh, somebody's really ambitious and they're like, they're idealistic and they're like, oh, I'm gonna change the system from within because that's how you do it. And you get in there and your hands are tied left and right. And you finally climb up the ladder, maybe, and you get into a position where you maybe could do something, but nobody else wants you to do anything. So they're fighting you and holding you back, and then you kind of have to play the social game and do your best to keep everybody happy because they're going to vote you out if you
Yeah.
don't. And if you make too many changes, they're going to vote you out, and then you can't do anything. And it's it's so problematic. And that that's why you're seeing people leave this public school system in droves
Yeah.
and moving to alternatives. And, like the public school system works for some kids and it doesn't for others. And it's great that we have options or that some of us have options. Not everybody has options, because they
Uh-huh.
need both parents working during the day. And that's a whole nother systematic problem. But like simple stuff like they're taking away recess. Like it's just like more and more.
Yes.
They don't
That's
have time to run around and play. And when I moved, of course, everybody's concern with Rowan when I took him out of this public school system was his socialization. He's not going to have any time to socialize. Oh, he's going to be a weird kid now. He's not going to know how to socialize. Okay, for one, none of y'all know how to socialize. None
either.
of y'all.
Yes. Right.
No matter how old, no matter the age, no matter your school system, like when we were growing up, the homeschool kids were a little strange because they were sheltered, you know? But they were also the most intelligent that you could
Uh-huh.
find. And, that's not, if you just anyway, uh, he has had more time to socialize and he has
Mhm.
become more well-rounded and more able to handle social situations since this 1 year that we've been out of the public
Mhm.
school system than he's ever been in his life. Like if you
Yeah.
don't know how to socialize with him, like he's quiet, he's kind of reserved. Um, but if you talk to him, like he can have a conversation.
Yeah.
But Sage comes home telling me about how they had silent lunch again, or like how, and like I get it. I get that they have to, they have 30 minutes for lunch, and the first 10 or 15 minutes of it, they're not allowed to talk because they have to finish their lunch because they're on a schedule. They have to get back to class. They have standards they have to meet. They have the, man, there's, I could complain about the school system for another
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
but I think breaking away from the systems, if you have the luxury to do so, and finding new ways to interact with the world and your education and your peers and your community. That's how, and me and you, I think we're trying really hard to do that. We're trying to be involved in our community and do our best to bring to it change in positive manner. Like calm down. We're not trying to change everything. We're just saying
Yeah.
maybe you wouldn't be so depressed if you had a couple of more friends.
Yeah.
Like just simple
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
change is always met with such that's another thing. That's another reason I'm wanting to get away from teaching yoga the way I'm teaching it. Because
Mm-hmm.
you saw how that lady was at the I don't want to point out because
Yeah.
but you mention yoga and they instantly get tense and tight and they're like and they have to specify they're like, oh, I don't do the spirituality stuff, I just do the physical stuff. And I'm so tired of hearing this. This is almost a weekly interaction that I have, and I'm just after years of it, and I understand that they're coming from their own filters of religion and upbringing and culture and beliefs and all of that. And I'm very, and they're doing a great job at being semi-open to yoga at all, Wonderful
Yeah.
baby steps. I
That
get
was the lady that I would least would have imagined that she would be doing yoga. But again, talking about stereotypes, I guess I was at fault because I was stereotyping her. But yeah, she surprised me that she's doing yoga. But
But
um,
at the same time, she was very, very clear that she doesn't do any of that magical woo-woo stuff. And I'm sitting over here like, I wish somebody would take my classes and explain to me where exactly I'm being spiritually insensitive to. See, yoga is supposed to be spiritually open. And people hear spirituality at all and they freak out. But
yeah.
the spiritually open means that it doesn't have spiritual ties. It doesn't have religious ties. Um, I say I misspoke when I said it doesn't have spiritual ties. It doesn't have religious ties. Okay, so then we have to come into like what exactly is spirituality, and why are we so rigid around it? Because I'm teaching, because people they want to do the physical stuff. They want the physical exercise and stretches. Even though they complain from start to finish about them, let me tell you what. That's what they say they want. Okay. All I'm So what exactly is spiritual? Is it me telling you how to breathe properly, or is that physical too? I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Okay.
breathing. Uh, is it me telling you to notice your thoughts? Is that spiritual? Or is that also physical? Like I'm not sure. Is the brain doing that? Like, okay. Um, we can talk about the brain and how because I do. I talk about how the brain its job is to keep us alive and safe. Okay. So therefore, it notices more readily the bad stuff, the negative stuff, the dangerous stuff, and doesn't necessarily care about the happy sunshine rainbow stuff. And that's why it's really easy to be depressed and anxious, but really hard to be peaceful and happy. Okay. So me teaching people emotional regulation and understanding how the brain works, how the emotions work, how the mind works, and how to tame it in a more positive. Is that what's spiritual? I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Like, yes, on the podcast, I get deeper into the philosophy of religion and spirituality and different religions and, you know, but what exactly, where's the line? I feel like the line is very blurred between physical and non-physical because, I mean, emotions and mental stuff, mental chatter, is that physical? Is that
Yeah.
metaphysical? Is that too spiritual for people to talk about their thoughts and emotions? Apparently.
Well, I think that is like the way to approach this is to offer what you think you should offer and what yoga means to you.
Hmm.
And your responsibility is to be your authentic self.
Hmm.
And then, in a perfect world, the people that align with that, they would find the value in that because I think that I guess that's talking about resolutions. That's my have been my resolution for the last few years to not be so afraid of being my authentic self and thinking that what I have is not enough or it's not good enough. And um, the people that don't want the spiritual stuff, for every person that doesn't want the spiritual stuff, there is also a person that wants the spiritual stuff.
Sure.
And you just have to find those people out there. And
Hmm.
I think the way to find them is for you to radiate it and to emanate it with your being and with what you do. And they will, I don't know, they will find you.
Sure.
But it's, I mean, it's, of course, it's easier said than done. But I mean, you have shown to be fearless, to be you. So I think you just should keep being you and don't get lost into what you think that people might want and might not want.
Sure. Sure. It's just, it's really frustrating and it's costing me money and time. And I think that if I let go of the current structure of how we're trying to do, two standard classes a week, that I can redirect the energy, create that space, and then I have more energy and space to work with doing other things. Because I don't think I even really like teaching classes, like group classes like that are regular. I think I require more freedom in my life and whatnot. I've very rarely am oh, I have yoga today. I gotta go. We're gonna go. I mean, like, I love it once I get there. And I've never once regretted a yoga class.
Yeah.
But, they're always very fulfilling. But I would like to maybe work with kids
Mm-hmm.
and maybe get into doing pop-up classes for like HR, because
Hmm.
um, businesses are always looking for ways to help their employees be more healthy and, well-being, emotional, physical, all of that. And I would love to come in and do like one class a month or one class every 6 months or, go talk to these people over here about how to I have lots of tools that I would love to share with people, and I just feel like I'm wasting my time and energy trying to do it the way I'm doing it when I could be doing it elsewhere and making more of an impact.
But I think the way you're doing it right now is offers you some sort of visibility. And I guess people pay for consistency more than anything else. And like the biggest killer for businesses is the lack of consistency and being discouraged. And I think it's like once you have established the consistency, then it also gives you the ability to, I guess, to proliferate. Is that the word? Like to expand, to have also different offerings. And then if that different offering, one of them is like more feasible, then you can more like follow that path. Am I making
Mhm.
sense? But it's like
Yeah.
I think it's what you're doing right now is opening the doors, and even though they not might not be exactly what you want, it still opens certain, I don't know, doors and possibilities that one of them might be what you want, because you don't know, like next time when you're offering a class in the park, it might be someone who is very big in HR and might.
That's how I got into Athens school systems. The superintendent of Athens city schools
Hmm.
took some of my yoga classes years ago when I was at 360 Fitness.
Hmm.
And so she invites me back every year to they have a week every summer where they do, I come in and I teach yoga. Sorry, it's not a week. It's like a month and it's like six classes, like 6 weeks. I come in once a week and teach yoga to the superintendents and the people who run Athens City Schools. That's what I would love to do. Like that right there is, I love doing that. But I've been at the village for a year and a half now, and I average one person per class.
But then back to stereotypes. It is the village. Okay, I mean, it's like when you do business, it's like it's also like your position has like big importance. Like, do you think that it's like if you were, let's say, in Madison, you would have one person after a year and a half?
No, I think it'd be a lot better out there.
Right. If you were in Athens, would you think that you would have one person? You would not. So it's like, and it's like it's very important. Like where it's like, I mean, yes, I would love to offer Spanish classes here in the village, and I was thinking about that. But then it's like the reality check is like, do I really think it's like, yeah, maybe. I mean, yes, in reality, like I do have a student from Elkmont, but I don't know. The practicalities is like the just I don't know. It's again, I should not stereotype, but looking at the population at large, like what is the better likelihood of me having, I mean, I mean, would I have more students willing to learn Spanish if I was in Huntsville or here in Elkmont? Would I do better if
Mhm.
like I was in, let's say, in Nashville? Yeah, I would, but then I'm here. So, just
Yep.
like, I mean, the sacrifices that we're willing to do. Like, am I willing to commute to Huntsville? I don't know.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah. So,
And I tried really hard a couple of years ago to find a location in Athens, and everything was just, um, this one lady quoted me like the average is like $600 a month for rent for a place. And that's like that's not having my own unit. That's working out of somebody else's unit. They're going to charge me. Like they already have like the space and the everything. They're just not using this one room or something.
oh,
six hundred
yeah.
dollars on average. And it's like I can't make that work. So
Yeah.
I've been heavily, which I don't know if it would be any better to do it at my house, but I'm still pretty rural. I don't know the answers. I just know what I'm doing isn't working, so I need to do
I don't know, maybe
something.
the other option is like if you keep it like in this area, maybe you should have keep it like make it more of a novelty. Because I mean it's rural area, maybe like it will be yoga with the goats or something like that. That might
Right. I was thinking yoga in the garden because
yeah.
I have the garden space and whatnot, but I just have to figure out the logistics of all of that and the legalities, and I don't have space to do that right now. So I have to like cut out something somewhere so that I have space to rework things.
Mhm.
But, we're figuring it out.
Yeah. I don't think you should give up on it. Maybe you need a break from it, some distance, but do not give up on your passions.
Well, I won't quit it entirely. That quitting was a bad word to use. I'm reworking things, and I need to quit doing it the way I'm doing it, and then maybe reworking. Because I taught at this lady had a retreat in Joe Wheeler this past weekend, and
Mm-hmm.
I came out. I went out to to Joe Wheeler and taught by the river, and that was nice. That was fun. That was an
Awesome.
interesting experience, and I like things like that. I like novelty type experiences like that. I would love to maybe. I've been meaning to get around to, but like my to-do list is a mountain. Uh,
Hmm.
So I've been meaning to reach out to campgrounds and whatnot and see if we can do that. Because I know Parks and Rec said no,
Hmm.
but that's local government, whereas campgrounds are often federal or state, so they may be a little bit more. I don't know. We just have to reach out to people and figure it out and find
And
locations
do
and
some
spots.
guerrilla marketing when you're camping and just like sneaking brochures in people's campers or in the area and like meet me by the creek at sundusk will be the yoga of your life experience.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Because I mean, we're camping anyway, so why not?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So instead of people sitting in front of their camper watching the game.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
do that, but yeah, nature and all of that. I just love being out here and doing this and having conversations about it and philosophizing about it. And again, thank you for coming on. You can come do this anytime you want.
Oh, that was fun. Thank you.
I'm stuck between because I want to have more local people on the show, and I think it'd be really good for the community and everybody. But
Hmm.
I'm stuck between, I know I should reach out and offer, but I
Hmm.
also want to be mindful of people's time. And a lot of people look down on podcasts and they're like, they roll their eyes. They're like,
Really?
oh, you have a podcast. Okay, uh-huh. Um, so a lot of people don't take it seriously,
Hmm.
or they think that, because I have reached out to a few people who they take it too seriously and they're like, oh, let me see if this one person would be interested in doing it. They're much better of a public speaker than I am, and they'll be able to. And I'm like, that's not really what I want. I want real people who are in it doing the thing, because that's who we're talking to, is real people who also want change but maybe aren't sure exactly what to do or where to do it. And we're fed all of these just unaligned thought. I don't know, lots of things.
So
Lots.
how are you finding speakers right now or guests right now?
90% of my guests, if not really 95% of my guests, reach out to me.
Okay.
So
And like in the podcast charts, like what category are you in? Like, you know how they have different categories, business,
yeah,
life.
we're spiritual and philosophy. S-
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, I've got all sorts of logistics, and they're not bad. I was really afraid, and it's happening, and I knew it would, that the consistency of the podcast being on pause was gonna hit numbers pretty badly, and it is. Everything's tanking a little bit. Not terribly, but a little bit. But I mean, I have like 250 plus episodes that people can go
Oh,
back
right.
and
Uh-huh.
watch the old ones. But
And where are your listeners from? I think I asked you and you said that they're not from the area.
well, it's like it's all over the world.
Uh,
Uh
it's
we have a
interesting.
lot in India because yoga and
Uh,
chakras was like a big thing that I latched onto for a while, and for lots of reasons, and I still love them, and but I kind of like talked them out. Like I've talked about chakras, all I can talk about chakras, and
mhm.
so I had to like start reworking. But
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, but sorry, I'm trying to like click on things to give you more of a religion and spirituality.
Okay.
So this pod SEO, which is like a podcast statistics online something or another, I don't know. They reached out to me, I made an account and then never did anything with it, and now they send me statistics every week about things. Um, but
Nice.
number 34 in religion and spirituality,
Nice.
169 in just straight spirituality. Oh, they're listed by country. So in Austria, we're number 34. in religion and spirituality.
Okay.
In Switzerland, we're number 169.
Uh-huh.
In Australia, we're 184. So, just
That's fascinating.
it's
Like,
pretty cool. I love
yeah,
statistics and
like,
stuff.
and like, so you're seeing that you're impacting people like so far away, and they're willing to spend a time of their day with you and with what you have to share, especially at a time where time is so scarce and time is so limited. So,
Yeah, and I'm super thankful for all of that. And but
hmm
I've been building my online presence for like since 2015.
uh-huh.
But I never did anything locally. Like I was terrified of the locals for a good
Yeah,
reason. Like
yeah.
the locals are kind of scary. And especially in the type of subjects that I like to talk about, I again definitely would have been burned at the stake
Uh-huh.
200 years ago. So that's a very like legitimate, valid fear. And I'm just now getting to where I am comfortable asking people in person and locally and stuff. But that's where I'm wanting to head and move towards. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, uh 2.5 hours I think is what we're at. So we'll go ahead and go. I gotta get ready and go get pick up Sage.
Yeah.
But
All
thank you,
right.
thank you, thank you.
I didn't expect it to be. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. All
Oh,
right.
sorry. And at any time, like you can always cut me off because I can obviously talk for hours and hours and hours. You can always
Uh-huh.
be like, I have to go soon. I'm like, okay, we can go, we can go.
Okay.
All right.
Then have a good dental visit and we'll see you soon.
See
Okay.
ya.
Bye.